Ladies and gentlemen, we'll move on to item H. Superintendent recommends approval of the following items. Item H1, approve designation of applicant's agent resolution required by the Governor's Office of Emergency Services, OES.
And this is a document where at least 2 people from the district are named as contact people in the case of an emergency. And from the board, we have Mrs. Vizcarra as clerk of the board, and then myself as the superintendent on here, and it just needs board approval in case of emergencies.
Okay.
Yes, this resolution needs to be revised. The previous one was also for Mrs. Ambriz, but the title was interim superintendent, and we're getting ready to submit a Kalima expenditure report, so we need to update it with her new title as superintendent.
Any questions, board members?
The names are not on there. Oh, is that a new one?
At the bottom?
No, that is passed on, approved. Okay. Leti Vizcarra and the superintendent?
Yeah, this is Maria Luis.
Where?
On the bottom, I, Maria, oh.
No, that's just certifying it. It needs it needs Miss Ambriz's name on there.
It says, I, Maria J. Ambriz, duly appointed and superintendent of. And then the clerk of the board is the one to sign the document. Mrs.
Okay.
Ambriz cannot sign for herself.
Maria Ambriz, duly appointed.
It's
and
basically we're
superintendent-
naming members of
and
the board.
superintendent of collective review. Okay, so Leti's name is the one on top. Okay.
Any further questions, board members? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve item H1?
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Calderon. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ortega. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by approving item H1. Please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Item passes 5-0. Item H2, Calexico High School swimming pool demolition. Can we have that?
It's right there.
Oh, it's already there. Thank you.
Bird up here.
So before we get into the whole motioning of the item for the swimming pool demolition, maybe if you could provide us an update, and then we can chime in as representatives of the board on that, shared committee.
Sure.
Raul Martinez, Calexico Unified. We have the architectural renditions, I'm sorry, excuse me. As far as for the swimming pool, the Margarita de Necochea swimming pool for Calexico Unified School District. In regards to it, the committee met about a week ago. I don't have the exact date on me. And everything, as far as what the committee discussed, was the phasing of what could be constructed, and then also the funding of it. At this point, there's still questions in regards to the funding. There is money there, but we still need additional funding, and they were brainstorming in regards to how to go to and get more funding from different areas, and that's still ongoing. But in regards to the swimming pool itself, what was decided with the committee, and I still need to talk with the architect. He just came back last night. He was out on vacation. But what's going to happen is the first phase, and we'll get into that one right now when we get into your the recommendation here. But what the committee decided to do is, one is, first of all, get started with the portion of the demolition and call it the Phase 1 demolition. Thereafter, start with the Phase 1 of the actual construction, and I'll get into some of the dates on that. But they're going to phase it in such a way that we can start the construction, and the construction would be the actual swimming pool, the actual competition pool, and then also the locker room areas. And then get also the mechanical room, the pump room, and everything that has to do with the swimming pool and all the infrastructure needed. So that means put all the electrical panels together, everything that's going to be needed, which is the infrastructure, the plumbing, everything going, so that when they can go into Phase 2, all that is done, and now you have to work on the Phase 2. What's Phase 2? The Phase 2 would be the actual wading pool, and it was a wading pool
Recreation pool.
and the recreation pool. Those would be coming in Phase 2, and then Phase 3 would be at a later date with the actual 2 classrooms that would have a partition wall in between so that it could open up into one bigger room. At this point, the money situation is there's some money from FEMA. There's some money coming in from Measure H.
$1 million?
$1 million. Do you want me to mention amounts here?
Yes, please.
There's roughly about $400,000 from FEMA monies. And when I get into the demolition recommendation here, that's where some of the monies for that demolition is coming from. But roughly $400,000, and then there was $1 million coming from Measure H. And there's a bond that belongs to the Calexico Unified School District where it might be, they're not sure what the whole amounts, but it could be anywhere from 1.2 to 1.4 million. Saying that they have 2.6 million, roughly, estimated amounts, approximate amounts. But the amounts that were calculated needing were roughly about 3.4 to 3.5 million to complete Phase 1. So what we're saying here is, with all the monies in right now, it seems like we're about 500,000 short that we need to come up with before we can actually go into the bidding and go moving on with the project. And those are things that the committee is working on, and they were maybe Mrs. Aguilar can elaborate a little more, because they wanted to go to Measure H again to their committee and possibly get some of that money there, or in those terms. But other than that, that's where we're at. What are the dates that we have here? The demolition phase, if it's approved today, and that's a little later into the meeting here, but we're looking at the demolition phase to, if approved today, August 13th, to advertise on August 20th and September 3rd. The pre-bid conference for the demolition portion would be September 10th, bid deadline September 17th, award the contract on September 24th, start demolition October 14th, and finish the demolition November 14th. All the DSA plans have been submitted to all the plans for the swimming pool have been submitted to the Division of State Architect. A couple of meetings ago, the board approved the amount needed for plan check for Division of State Architect that has to be there before they start the plan check, and that was, I believe, a number around $37,000. Now, the drawings are already at Division of State Architect, DSA. They already started on the plan check, and how does that work? We, make the payment to them, then the drawings are submitted. Actually, the drawings are submitted to them with the check, and thereafter it'll take about a week to 2 for them to start the comment area. The comment area is where the Division of State Architect starts talking with the architect and the engineer regarding questions they have with the swimming pool. And that conversation goes ongoing until it's finalized, no more questions, and then they stamp the plans approved. So those comments already started. The first comment from the Division of State Architect was asking questions in regard to the the fire sprinkler system in the swimming pool and the locker rooms. The architect will take care of all the responses to that, and then they move on to another question. As they're doing the plan check, these comments or these questions come up, and that's what how the process works. We're anticipating that sometime by October 1st that the DSA plans are approved, and then start the phase one of the swimming pool, which again would be the competition pool, the locker room, restroom areas, some shaded areas, and the mechanical room. And that would be somewhere in October, advertised in October. The pre-bid conference, and these are estimated days now, in November. The bid deadline in November. And what's still pending from the committee, from both the school district and the city's part, is the memo of understanding or the joint powers of agreement, whatever is going to be decided there. Then after that, award the contract sometime in December, and complete construction like mid-July, early August. That's what's estimated at this time. And that's where these are all estimated times, schedules that we have. The pool itself is estimated at the complete project, all three phases, is roughly about $7 million. When you look at it, the phase one portion was originally estimated at $2,755,442. But it went up to approximately $3.5 million when the changes were made on the phasing. Why were changes made as far as what portion of the construction was going to be done is because what the committee came up with is that not originally the locker rooms and the restrooms were to be in phase two. However, looking at it and looking at the health department, the issue would be is if I'm somebody in the swimming pool, I'm a student, I'm a child, to walk into the Godfrey gym locker areas or the boys' locker restrooms to walk across the asphalt and so forth, that's not a cool deck. So obviously that was a concern. So those were the reasons that these changes were made in regards to the phases. So that's an update regarding that.
I'd like for Mrs. Duarte and myself, provide additional information into what you just mentioned. So if you would like to.
You just
No.
said it.
Well, there's some other stuff that haven't been said. Like, for example, one of the things that also got added because it was taken out to the community when the plans were shown at another board meeting to members, we had parents and we had community members that asked that in addition to having the competition style swimming pool, they wanted part of, a wading pool and actually they actually asked for the recreation pool, and then we had more parents come and say, well, what about our kiddies and having a kiddie pool? So the recreation pool was reconfigured so to be able to design that, along that. Another thing that wasn't mentioned was in terms of wanting to build it solar power ready so that we have an extended use of it throughout the year. The other aspect, help me out, Ruth.
Well, there has always been 3 phases of the pool. One, just to make it clear of what the first phase will entail, it will be the first rendering, which is the swimming pool, the 8 lanes. At one time we said, let's do a 6-lane pool because it's less expensive, but after you account for all the cement and everything, we might as well put the 8 for competitions. And it does go, it does go down a little bit, but it's a deep pool for the competitions. And as you can see right here, there'll be an area for even handicapped people will be able to get into the swimming pool. but it's short here, or not that, it's shallow here, and then it just automatically goes. So we couldn't get little kids in there because of safety. So this pool will be what will be constructed first. And then the shower, what is it, the shower and lockers, just the two buildings that Mr. Martinez has pointed out. So it'll be just the swimming pool and the two lockers. Once we fundraise or we get financial assistance for the remainder, we will do the kiddie pool, the small little blue square with the other pool, with the recreational pool. And this is going to be 8 feet, the rec. I think it's, yeah, I think it's going to be 8 feet. But this is what will be for the general public. They will be using this one, but they must know how to swim because there's no shallow point on there. And this part may be solared before this one, because we can use it all year round for competitions and stuff, and that's what's going to generate money to build these other ones. These are the proposed assembly rooms, the 2 classrooms. We do qualify for modernization from the state, and we have submitted papers to get in line for the money, right?
That is correct.
So that we can build these 2 classrooms. And these classrooms will have like a partition wall where we can open it. And Mr. Heck, yes, it will be used for athletic classes or PE courses. So yes, your football players may be in here during the summertime so they can cool off and stuff. But we will have other physical education classes in here. And that's how we can qualify for the state funding to build that. With that said, that'll allow to finish everything else. All this around here will be cement. So that's why it's expensive. There is shades with the bleachers, and I believe we did include the shades onto the first phase, right?
That is
of the
correct.
pool. Yes, we did include that. So you will be seeing the pool equipment, the swimming pool, and the two locker rooms here.
And the other thing that the architect submitted a proposal, but you went over with it with a fine-tooth comb and found some discrepancies in terms of you need to be able to clarify those numbers, remember?
Yeah, and in the clarification of numbers, if you can see on the phase 1, you can put it down there. If you can see on the phase 1 of the pool, we would be doing the competition pool and the covered maintenance yard, the hardscape, the shades, site fencing and gates, site lighting, and miscellaneous site improvements, and then the main electrical switch bar and the IID service. Hopefully, they can give us a discount for the $74,000 that we paid today, but those need to be on there because we're going to leave it ready for the other rec and wading pool. But we are going to cut the cost because it's not going to be, the cement, we have to throw it on there because we're going to put the under plumbing and everything underneath. But we did make some cuts in cost. And earlier, when it showed the $8 million, the calculation was wrong. So we cut $1 million off of it because they didn't do the basic math.
It's $7,037,835.
Yeah, so it was cut to close to $1 million, something
Correct.
like that. But anyways, we'll continue with the phase. It will take more than 2 years to finish the whole 3 phases, but at least we will be getting the swimming pool up and running, hopefully, if all goes well, before November 13th when I leave. But we will be meeting again, 2014. We will be meeting again with Mr. Sanders and get an update on the DSA paperwork. I think that's what takes the most time, and that's why today we're starting with the first phase is the demolition.
Yeah. And piggybacking on Mrs. Harvey's earlier remark, it would be good to, once we get all that together, getting it on the website so that our parents are made aware, our community is made aware that progress is being made. I did want to clarify something. There was an article that ran today, which I was kind of taken aback because there was no contact made with myself or with you in terms of before that item ran. There was an interview with our mayor and city manager Rodriguez in terms of what is happening with the pool. And the point of clarification, there is no JPA.
There is no.
We were misidentified as being members of a JPA when we have not even addressed that legally. Number two, at one of the meetings, we did ask about whether it would be feasible or possible or legally legal to even tap into Measure J, and I found out we cannot because those are funds that were designated. And again, that's why I pointed out. I responded. I called Chelsea and I said I wish you would have called and checked before you ran it. But I did put a disclaimer on my Facebook, and I put it also on the Imperial Valley Press in terms of that. Number one, we are not tapping into Measure J. That's the last thing we need to get out there, that we are not using funds appropriately. Okay. And I think, is there questions by board members in terms of what we've reported or what's been presented to you?
I don't have a question.
Nothing at this time.
No?
No.
Ms. Zuna Vizcarra?
Just clarification, the shower lockers are going to be moved from phase 2 to phase 1?
Yes.
Correct.
So, but on here, they're on phase 2, this will be updated to reflect that it's going to be done in phase 1, and the difference in cost will be moved up?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're taking away the wading pool cost and the recreational pool costs out of the first phase, putting in the second phase with the shower and locker breezeway, shower and locker covered walkway, and hardscape. That would be the second phase,
Yeah.
yes.
I would ask that, since what all we're approving right now is
Demolition.
is the demolition, I would ask that we bring this back with the updated information so that the board can actually look at real numbers.
For the phase
Correct.
one.
Okay.
I'm due to meet with the architect tomorrow. He just came back last night, but I'll meet with him tomorrow and make sure that is clarified and then update the numbers there. Obviously, there is a number of 8 million, which is incorrect. And also that it reflects the solar on it.
Yes, thank
We
you.
want to do that.
That is crucial because that
correct.
gives us the opportunity to be able to offer it year-round.
Correct.
And then that JPA, that's where we're going to how it's going to be funded to maintain. Any questions, board members, before we go to that item?
No.
Seeing none? Let me get back there to the page.
I'm reading the summary here, and it says, so that the district can move on the phase 1 of construction of the competition pool, recreational pool, 50 by 30 wading pool covered, mechanical hands. That has changed because we can delete the recreational pool. I mean, although the demolition has to be done there because we still need to build the holes for the plumbing and stuff, but the pool and the wading pool and the recreational pool will not be in existence.
Okay. Is there a motion, board members?
Make a motion to approve the swimming pool demolition.
Motion by Duarte to approve item H. H2 for demolition of the pool. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Calderon. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes 5-0. First step. All right, we'll go on to item H3, award of bid number 2014-0014 for floor covering replacement, various sites.
Yes,
Mr.
Raul
Martinez.
Martinez, Calexico Unified. On June 28, 2013, the Board of Education gave direction to staff to go out and bid for the replacement flooring covering of various sites, and the list was attached at the time. The district received 2 bids, one from JS Flooring Covering for the amount of $263,900, and Imperial Valley Floor Coverings, Gordon's Carpet, one for $179,428. The bids were sealed. They were opened at that particular time. The difference of both bids was $84,472, which is a large amount to leave on the table. The business department, the business department, Mrs. Carolina Rodriguez, contacted JS Flooring to make sure that their numbers were correct. They hadn't left anything out, and they were comfortable with that number. And the response was yes, that they calculate everything correctly, and they were going to stand by their number of $179,428. And at this point, this is our recommendation to go ahead and move on with this with Gordon's Carpet, and for the amount of $179,428, and continue with this flooring project here that would be throughout the whole district.
Are there questions, board members?
They could have at least typed it.
Well, they have their own business, they have their own merchandise, so maybe that's why. My question is, what kind of grade of carpet are we getting? Is it going to last us a while, or?
Is there
Yes,
carpet?
it should. Well, there's.
We didn't ask for a grade, right?
Yes, we did.
We
It's
did?
28 ounce. Originally, it was a 26 ounce, and during the mandatory walk with the contractors, we asked for 26 ounce, and it was upgraded to 28 ounce. Everything was in an amendment, and 3 contractors walked the sites with us, and that was also Derma's Carpet that decided not to bid on this particular project. But it's good quality carpet.
What about the tile?
The tile would be the 1/4-inch thick vinyl VCT tile, and that would be in just certain areas. And where are those areas? Offices, the teacher's lounge at Calexico High School. I know that dual office will be removed. Any existing classroom, original classroom that's permanent, if it has any carpet, we replace it with vinyl tile. That's what the district's been doing for the last probably 10 years. The only carpets we use would be on the modular classrooms. Why is that? The modular classrooms, the foundation, the flooring is made out of plywood, and trying to put vinyl tile on it would come off later, because of the vibration. So most of it is carpet and some vinyl tile.
Have we, sorry, one last question. Have we done business with them before?
Yes, we have.
Yeah. And?
And it's gone well. Every year, we do roughly about $10,000 to $13,000 worth of work, and when we get the estimates and quotations, and we get them from all the local contractors or suppliers here in the valley, and at times they have done work with us. The last time that we did a big project like this, I'm going to say probably about 10 years ago, Gordon's Carpet was the one that also won that bid back then. So we've done business with them before. We haven't had problems.
That's it, Madam President, for me.
Any other questions, board members? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve?
A move to approve.
Motion to approve by item H3 by Calderon. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Duarte. Period for Calexico High School? Ms. Ambriz?
Yes.
I mean, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Yes, Ms. Armendariz will address any questions. She's
Thank
had
you.
more lengthy conversations with CHS administration. We have met with, both of us met with Mr. Pesqueira, and we actually had a conversation with Mr. Cooper, and so there, and we've had conversations obviously with Mr. We've read the proposals of the different teachers, and so I'll just let Mrs. Armendariz expand on everything.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Hortensia Armendariz, Calexico Unified School District. After Mr. Heck came and proposed, or came and addressed the board regarding zero period, then what I did back in May, I sent an email to Mr. Pesqueira to survey certificated coaches, and the reason for certificated coaches and not the rest is because it's zero period and these students were going to be on the master calendar. So 4 coaches submitted a proposal, 4 coaches submitted a proposal and answered a survey. If you were allowed to teach zero period, what semester would you teach? Second semester or first semester? Or if you were allowed, would you teach both? And some said yes, some said no. So that's just basically what the proposal was. So we do have 4 proposals. One, we have a proposal for football conditioning, girls basketball conditioning, girls softball conditioning, and cheer. And that this is a conditioning class, not a PE class. And that's one thing that we discussed, that it's not a PE class, so students will not be receiving PE credit. Any questions regarding?
Can you repeat what you said? It was football, cheer, softball?
We have
what else?
football, girls basketball, softball, and cheer.
Okay.
And so we have 4. And then if you, and then the cost, there's an attachment to that?
Just list 2 semesters per employee, 51,000.
Oh, that's right, that's right. So if we have, the total for the whole year would be 50, what was?
51,326.
Yes.
2 semesters per employee. Okay.
Per,
employee?
is the total?
Total for all 4 to teach,
Well,
zero
I'm just reading
period.
what it says here. It says 2 semesters per employee.
Yes.
So to me, that's not the whole, per employee. How many employees?
4. We have 4 proposal.
2
Yeah,
semesters?
but it's not clear what it,
Yes,
it makes it sound like it's 51,000 per.
51,000 per employee.
Okay, so I will clarify it. It would cost us 51,000
Total.
for the 4 coaches.
So total, out
Yes.
the door, 51,000.
Yes.
Okay.
For the whole year, first semester, second semester.
So instead of per employee, it should say for all total.
All employees.
2
yes.
semesters for 4
4
employees.
yes, 4 employees, yes.
For the total zero program.
Now, I'm sorry. Now, you did say, you mentioned something that the students will not get P credits. If this is a certificated person doing this, why wouldn't they get P credits?
It's a conditioning class, not a PE class. And then not all our teachers here have a PE credential. We have 2 that propose that do have a PE credential. Let me give you a little bit of background information. We have a new person at California Department of Education in the PE department. And what I was told 2 years ago is not the same what I was told now of how our students can get PE credits. That's still a conversation that I'm having. His name is Michael Lee. So that's why, and that's one thing that when we spoke to Mr. Cooper, that we had said then that it would be conditioning class for elective credits, not PE for this year.
Okay, so in the case that, well, we go back or you go back and talk and make the arrangements, and if down the road next year the students are allowed to get PE credit, then these kids are taking the class, or they will be taking the class this school year, then maybe they should be grandfathered into getting PE credit.
And I can't promise that because I don't know if that's something that we would be allowed to.
What do you mean?
You said, like, for example, maybe they get PE credit in the future?
That's what I'm saying. If in the future it is allowed for these type of classes. to
Oh,
get
for the
PE
future?
For the future.
Oh, yes, I would bring it back and I would let you know
And
what's allowable,
grandfather
yes.
These students right now to get PE credit.
I don't think you can do something like that retroactively.
Like retroactive PE credit?
It has been
That's
done.
something I can't promise because I would hate for a student to enroll in a conditioning class thinking that they might get PE credit. I don't think they think that they might. We either have to say, yes, it's PE credit or not PE credit.
Well, we'll leave it as that, and we'll talk about that later because we do it in Coachella Valley. They do it, and they got grandfathered 2 years actually back. So I know it can be done. We'll talk about it later. For today's sake, we'll just continue with this
Okay.
conversation.
And like I said, we have two different people that I was talking at California Department of Ed, and the one that retired was saying something different. We have a new one, Michael Lee, which is saying something different.
We'll talk about
Mhm.
it.
Any further
You
questions?
said they don't get P credit. Is this being proposed as an elective?
An elective,
An elective? So
yes.
So do we consider other electives besides this, other electives, so that more students that maybe aren't enrolled in sports or interested in sports can have access to just more, do they have more options as well?
You're talking about just electives in general?
Just electives in general?
Oh, yes, and that's something that Mr. Pesqueira has been working with, offering more electives. You're not talking about zero period, right?
This is 0 period.
I understand this is 0 period, that's not my point.
You're saying
Talking about
offering
electives.
additional electives for all students?
Correct.
Yes.
Because I don't remember this being proposed as an elective the first time Mr. Heck came in and discussed it. And in addition to that, I know the last time Mr. Heck talked about this, you're asking for some equipment, and is that proposed, is that here in this fiscal impact?
No, the first time that zero period came to the board, just talked about zero period, and offering the conditioning class. The last time that it was presented to the board, it was presented as a conditioning class plus all these other material, equipment. So what you have in front of you, or the 51,000, that amount, is just for the staff.
So, except just, it seems to have gone through some metamorphosis, because what was presented first and second doesn't seem to all be here. Are we going to later look at equipment, and then now there's 4 different sports? And are all those 4 different coaches going to put in requests for equipment for what they need? So
My
the
understanding,
fiscal
maybe there
impact
was
is gonna be great.
2 individuals that came to present, 2 teachers that came to present, and then later on, I asked Mr. Pesqueira to survey the certificated coaches.
But that's not my question. Is this, the fiscal impact is going to change because where is the
Yes,
equipment?
yes, yes.
Okay, and is that going to come, I mean, we approved this without knowing what that fiscal impact is going to be. I mean, what, doesn't.
I know what was presented last time was that some of the equipment was going to be provided by ACES or assets, but I haven't seen anything that it has been approved or hasn't been approved or can be approved. I concentrated on the conditioning class with what we have available at this point at Calexico High School.
So what do we have available then? For these kids that are going to come into this, what's available to them to condition? I mean, if I may ask you, I mean, you need equipment, correct? And I don't, you don't have to answer, so it's just a question, but are the rest of the coaches going to need equipment? Where is that going to come from? What is that impact fiscally?
If I may, in discussing this also with Mr. Pesqueira and Mr. Evangelist, we brought the issue of equipment up. And in speaking with Mr. Evangelist, he said that based on what we currently have in terms of equipment, that would be sufficient, at the very least, to get our zero period started for this school year. That if a coach such as Mr. Heck wanted additional equipment, that there's, for example, there are talks with the assets program, et cetera, and then in terms of what we would do to cover the cost as a district. But currently, with what we have, it would be, according to Mr. Evangelist, it would be sufficient to get the zero period program started. And that's exactly what he told us last week. Correct, Mr. Pesqueira?
What
Can you come to the podium, please?
And while he gets here, I mean, that's not here in what we're being given. I mean, we have just, it seems to me, an incomplete project.
I thought, just like Ms. Zuna is saying, I was under the impression too that it was going to be a complete package. So we're talking about not only the teachers, but also talking about the equipment, everything that the kids need in order to get this going on. But what I see here, I mean, it's
Well, you don't see that.
well, I don't see it. I'm not seeing it here. So yes, thank you. I'm not seeing it here.
I know that every sport will need certain things, especially in the area of football, depending on the program that he has generated for this class. But obviously, all sports have existing equipment that they're using during their seasons. And what this is going to entail is going to be more wear and tear of the equipment because they're going to be using it more often than usually just during that season. So yes, depending on the program they have planned, and they might need more equipment. But I know that Mr. Heck has been working with the assets coordinator in reference to certain equipment. But I'm still up in the air in reference to if I can split the cost, because we're talking about $11 that the high school would have to pay. And I think I just sent an email to Mrs. Cesena that we also have requests from the PE department in reference to equipment, and we need to kind of look at the budget in that sense. But in reference to them starting week 1, I would say that we do have equipment to get it started, but we're probably going to have to order more equipment throughout the year because there's going to be more wear and tear. And again, depending what their focus is in these classes, there might be other equipment that doesn't exist in their current programs now.
And I guess if I may say at this point, I guess maybe the concern might be that we want to know whether the approval of this is contingent on that it brings an unknown amount, a commitment to an unknown amount of equipment. And I think if going in, just say all we're approving is this amount overall for all employees. Is that correct, Mrs. Armendariz?
Yes, and if it's the wish of the board, we can go back and do analysis or find out what equipment is needed and how much the equipment will cost.
And where it's going to come from.
Yes.
And what's the time for zero period? What time would that start?
0 to 8. I mean, sorry, it's 0 period 7 to 8.
7 to 8.
Yes.
So besides the coaches being on site, and you're talking about now having a lot more students. Besides, I think we have all the band students, which are 100-something students here that early. And are we going to have, I don't know, a lot more? Who's supervising there? Administrator on site?
That's a conversation that Mr. Pesqueira and I already had. So you want to tell him about maybe the conversation that we had of who would be covering the morning, the 7 to 8?
We've definitely had conversations for the band program because it's the biggest existing program that we have with 170 just band students plus another 45 drill and flag girls. So we are looking at hopefully being able to get a band assistant or to assist, not a band teacher, but like an instructional aide that we have in classrooms, but an assistant to assist a band teacher. But meanwhile, I'm just talking 0 period. Meanwhile, what we're going to be doing is I'll be talking to my administrative team tomorrow regarding having one of them, or rotating, having one of them being there at 7 in the morning, which our contract is starting at 7:30, but being at 7 in the morning and leaving early instead of 4:30, they could leave at 4, or they could work around. If you're assigned to a game, you don't have to be at that game that day, but we're going to start off with administration at 7 in the morning, starting Monday.
And, okay, so I have more questions. So this is only then designed for students that are in these particular sports. So it's not inclusive of any other student that just wants to join this for the sake of conditioning?
Correct, not at this time. It's only for our athletes.
It's only being catered to the athletes, and it's excluding all of the students that might want to take this as an elective just for the sake of conditioning.
At this time, yes.
It was my understanding that it was going to be open to any student. That's how it was presented the last time.
Okay, so aren't these students already, they're already in these sports then? And aren't they already practicing somewhere? I mean, I had a kid in cheer for 6 years, and I mean, the amount of hours that took, and was, I mean, that was already happening, and she wasn't there for 0 period.
And yes, we have a lot of dedicated coaches that go beyond the line of duty. For example, if I talk about Mr. Heck, his contract starts in August. His contract, and I'm talking about his football position, starts in August and ends in November. But after those, all the other months around the calendar, he's out there working with the kids. He's not getting a cent for it.
I would not negate that at all. I'll tell you, I've seen it, I've experienced it. I have kids that are in the athletic programs, and I love to support all of them. I'm a big supporter of athletics. I'm a big supporter of the arts. I don't want to exclude other students, and so unless we come up with another format or in addition to this, where we have some other conditioning class open to any student that wants to join it, who's not on a team, who maybe doesn't make a team. There's a lot of kids that don't make our team, and maybe they could join a conditioning program anyway. So I'm happy to support this, but not comfortable with it. We're not going to also put together something where we're including everybody else.
And maybe we can be looking at that. If the interest is there in reference to the coaching aspect of it, who would be the advisor, who would run that, it's something we can look into later. But this is not an uncommon practice. You see a lot of schools, high schools in just the Valley that have 7-period PE, and they have all their athletes there, and they're doing the conditioning and so on. You see it in 0 period, and it's just for those athletes on those particular.
And that's great that other folks are doing it. I don't know why we can't just be innovative and out of the box and do something different for the kids that aren't in a sport.
So following that train of thought that Ms. Luna Vizcarra has just mentioned, is it possible to integrate a 7th period as part of the assets program, where you could have something like that you could, I mean, you're calling it an elective, but to me an elective is when you get a grade.
And students will be getting a grade.
They'll be
getting credit.
They'll be getting credit.
Right.
Okay. So I don't know whether that's something that you would consider, or you like the idea of something that's open. I agree with you that if we're going to offer something just for athletes, we should also be able to offer something to students, whether it's, maybe not as a 0 period, or maybe in addition to 0 period. I don't know.
Can let me ask you about the grade, because to be on a team, you have to have what GPA? 2.0. 2.0. So I assume you have our student athletes at some point maybe fall below that, and then what? They get suspended. They don't get to play. They don't get to do something. But then what happens? Because they're still in that class, and they're still going to get credit.
And again, that's elective credit. It's not PE credit. It's a conditioning class. And at this time,
but it's contingent upon them being on a team.
Yes. If it's a football player, they would be in the football conditioning program, or softball or basketball.
So if they don't want to be on the team, or they get dropped from the team, or their grades lowered, then what's the contingency there? Was it the tie-in with that class? What happens?
I don't think, well, we haven't had this conversation in reference to it. I don't know if Mr. Heck wants to address it, but once the students,
Jumping on
Go ahead, Mr. Heck, if you want to answer it. Come to the podium, please.
I want to answer a couple questions.
Come to the
Come to the podium, please.
Okay.
Thanks.
First of all, even though this isn't popular, and quite frankly, I don't care, the fact of the matter is the equipment is not satisfactory, period. Now, I want to make sure that's clear. It's not. So, the fact that we could do this with the existing equipment cannot happen safely. And I put in exactly how much it would cost to do this, and it was shared among people. And half of it was split among assets, and the other half with the school, I suppose, in the general fund. I even went to the point of going to Lowe's and talking to them about getting an industry-to-industry purchase of this to reduce the cost for the district so that we could purchase this at a much reduced cost, and they were even willing to bring it and freight it down here for free. I think that's very important that that's explained. And that's been in some people's hands that know this, that are in this room. Secondly, 400 students, when I proposed this at the electives fair, and I have the papers, you can see them, signed up for this class. And I opened it up to not just players, but the general population.
Yes, I remember that. I remember you said that
Yes,
to
I
us.
did. And I think they should get an opportunity to participate if they can. Okay, with regard to my student athletes, hooked to this zero period is they must attend a 2-hour study hall. That will be part of their grade of this conditioning. It's academic conditioning, it's athletic conditioning and academic coaching.
Where are they getting this 2-hour?
It's after school from 3 to 5. And Assets was helping me with job coaching. This is all part of the plan that I had done last year and the year before. It was what allowed us to be, I think, competitive athletically because it put us academically eligible to play, but way beyond just a 2.0. We had the highest GPA in the southern section for football. I told the players this year, they miss one study hall, they will not play in the game the following week. That's how much emphasis I was putting on the academics. I think I've answered most of the questions that you had. I think they were great questions. Thank you for asking those. That does pose some difficulties, but the $11,000 that I was asking out of the general fund, you have to understand, would be used for PE because they could use it all through the day.
That's the equipment that you're talking about, and that's
Yes.
the cost
Weights.
analysis that you said you've had and people here have access to.
Yes. And Assets has it too. It was a shared cost, 50-50.
Coach, so $11,000 total, so that means that it will be 50-50.
No, 22,000.
Oh, is it 22?
Total,
11?
half, 11,
is
11,
is
yes.
half. Okay, 11 is half, okay.
I'm rounding, but that's
Oh, yeah,
very
okay, yeah.
close to the amount.
Okay.
So I guess, I don't know who the question goes to, but I'll put it out there. So
Sure.
where did we go from access to all students to only,
That's not my call.
yeah, I know I'm not, so I'm asking the superintendent.
I will have to defer that one to Mrs. Armendariz. She's the one that had the
Mrs. Armendariz?
bulk of the meetings with them.
That's why I was putting so much emphasis in coming to these meetings
Yes.
and bothering you guys.
No, it's not
and
about, that's
pushing you
that's our
guys,
job.
and maybe even kind of strong-arming because I want to make sure you understood and it was in the public forum so everybody heard it.
Okay.
And then I tried my best to get it out and disseminate it to everybody so it was shared information, it was public information. Just like if we're doing these kind of construction things, I think a great idea to that would be if we put that in the paper and we do a drawdown in the paper because it makes us look like we're willing to share that information to everybody.
Yeah.
And I think the cost benefit from that, it changes perceptions of the way that we're looked at.
Yes.
I think it's only fair that everybody gets an opportunity to do this, but keeping in mind, many kids can't stay with a structured, I'm bouncing back now to this conditioning. There's tremendous time commitments to them for that. Thank you. Yeah. Because I'm asking for both of them. Well, I'm not asking. That is the standard. And if they don't meet that standard, their grade will be dropped. It doesn't make any difference who they are.
Okay.
Okay?
Coach, can I have the coach just explain to the board the bulk of this equipment, where it's going to be placed? And
Yes. The equipment, let me see if I can try to summarize this as efficiently as possible. It's 10 power racks. What these are, they are for squats, for on your back to do squats, so that they have a means to secure them from harm or minimize that. It's also, you can do bench presses on them when you're on your back. You can do inclines from them. You can do behind head presses, seated, and you can do military presses. Those are the big movements that you can gain from using this power rack and making it, and it's stable so that it's safe. My request was for 10 of those. And also 5 leg extensions, 5 leg curl machines, and I went through book after book after book to try to find what I thought was the longest lasting, most durable, and most efficient use of equipment in the space. The space that we're talking about is what was the reclaimed stage that's now used as a weight room. There's that dividing wall there that's on the theater, what was the theater area, and now it's been, for many years now, it's been used as the weight room. And what I'm talking about is putting those in that area so that it could be locked, secured, and it could be used through the day for all the PE classes. And it could be used, I assume, after school by the other sports, because it had been the practice since I've been here, that I had used it in the morning with football players. And the time that we would start, I think that was another question, was at 5:30 and going to 7:30 in the morning. So it's not just weightlifting, it's also running, flexibility. It's aerobic and anaerobic and flexibility exercises.
See, those costs and a program like that, with a presentation like that, that has all of that included in it, times the 4 that you're proposing, is what I'd like to have seen here. I mean, we don't have anything to look at, and the presentations you've given, I think, twice up here, are different from
The packet that I gave you had that in it.
I understand that, but what we have in front of us now,
okay,
that's not included. And it'd be, I think, necessary to have that included so we can support this.
Can we have Ms. Armendariz?
You know, my take on this, and I agree with what you are saying, because my take on it is that we're just going to pay 4 people for extra hours, and that's it, the way I read it here.
Yeah.
You know, but I know that Mr. Heck has come to us for assistance in the 0 period for conditioning of his football team and any others that want to condition. I think at some point this went another way, where Mr. Hegg's idea is being put in abeyance until we get the other stuff cleared up. I would like to see his program start first, because he is the one that came to us. The other individuals, I have no idea how they piggybacked on this. And it is a good idea. We need a good team. We need all our teams to be good, okay? But I'd like to see a good football team so that we can be brawling all the time. But you know, it has gone to a bigger level now, and now I don't see $51,000. Now I see more than $51,000 and a very big liability. You know, so I'd like to see a plan in place, a complete plan, so that we know what we're going to vote on. And I'd like to be exposed for the other three individuals got in there and piggyback because.
I think Ms. Armendariz explained that they did put it out there to everyone else. And
But-
I tell you that I like that they did that because in terms of inclusiveness, in terms of other, we need to support all our
And I
sports, all our
understand that.
teams. And I think that Ms. Armendariz explained that that's where that came from. But there's certainly a bigger fiscal impact that I'd like to think that all of us would support because our sports, our athletic teams are what happens Friday nights on the football fields and on basketball teams and all these things that our community loves to go out and wear our garnets and cheer. It's really what makes this community what it is and ties us together. So we can support it. I think it'd be great. However, this is not, to me, what's been brought forward by you, and it's not. It seems like an incomplete proposal.
Well, it's incomplete because it went a different direction.
That too.
And they don't have the complete plan now. He presented us with a complete plan that has nothing to do with this item. Just a zero period.
Not to mention that we heard from Mr. Heck multiple times. We've heard from him his willingness to commit to a certain level and certainly a high standard of academic commitment. I have not heard that from
Any
other. I don't know if it is, but
I'd like to comment on behalf of Mr. Cuevas. He too has kind of adopted this. We've had numerous discussions. Mr. Cuevas, he's the girls basketball coach. And his level of commitment and his time spent with them, not only in academics but also athletics, is extreme, let's say. I will say also in their defense, the most expensive of the 4 expenditures that you're going to outlay is going to be for me. I can almost guarantee it because football is just the most expensive. It requires, because our population is about the largest, and the kind of equipment that's needed for it, whether it's in a weight room, which maybe some of the other sports don't see the advantage of. I went to school at University of Nebraska. Everybody lifted weights. Everybody did. But that's a popularity and a concept that has gone through the country at the high school level now. But many sports don't really do that much in that kind of area. But generally speaking, the most expensive sport is football, and it's way more. And I would say that probably if Mr. Cuevas were here to speak to you about this, he would maybe need some equipment, but it certainly wouldn't be $11,000. I'm the one that's going to cost the money.
okay. Ms. Armendariz? Before you speak, I'd like to call for what time is it? Is it 9:30? Is a motion to extend the meeting? We're half an hour away from 10 o'clock deadline.
Until 11?
We're not going to be done during the. We
Yeah.
still have closed session.
Motion, is there a motion to extend it to 11:30? More than one, I think we're going to be there more than an hour.
Midnight? Just do it to midnight. Well, we don't certainly
Motion,
have to
is there a
stay till
motion
midnight.
to
I make a
extend?
motion to extend the time till midnight.
Motion by Duarte to extend the board meeting to midnight. Is there a second? Second. I second. Motion by Duarte, second by Aguilar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I hate me.
Aye.
No.
Motion passes 4-1. All right.
I
Okay.
wasn't I, just, you know.
When it was proposed as a zero-period conditioning class. So, yes, I know that Mr. Head came and present, but I didn't think that it was only for football. But if that's the direction that the board wants me to submit a proposal, with just football this time around of what the plan is, what the time is, how much it's going to cost, and who will be able to participate and how they will receive credits, I can do that. I could do that for the 4 different areas also, the other coach, certificated coaches, or this time around, we can just concentrate on football.
I think rather that, before we go in that direction, if you'll permit me, board members, I think we want to know what happened to the equipment, the part of the equipment.
What happened to the part of the equipment?
Yeah, of including it.
At the beginning, at the first proposal was 0 period. The first time that I heard about the equipment was the last presentation. And my understanding when Mr. Heck was talking, the presentation was 0 period, and then also assets.
No, I'll differ with
Okay.
you, because I know that at a agenda board review, at least a meeting ago or more, maybe 2 meetings ago, because I had a conversation with Coach Heck, and then I brought those packages prior to the packages being presented to the board members at the last board meeting. So I did give that package to.
A binder. I have a binder, And the binder that I have, what the proposal was, there's no equipment in there. But I know we need, the equipment. So if I can come back with a detailed proposal, do you want me for all sports? Do you want me a detailed proposal just for football this time around? Give me the directive and
I don't know
guidelines, and I will do it.
I don't know why, Madam President.
Go ahead.
I don't know why we are putting so many roadblocks to this.
Oh, no.
No, hold on. Because I've seen, just like Madam President said, I saw what was needed. Okay, now we only see this. I mean, I understand what they're saying, because if I had to vote on this Coach, just give me 1 second, okay? If I saw this if I were to vote on this just by what I'm seeing, I would probably say no. But I know for a fact that they have brought those proposals, because I've seen them. I saw the crush helmet right there. So I've seen those, just like they're saying. So I don't want to wait, and I'm sorry, but I don't want to wait another week, another 2 weeks. And I don't know what we want to do about this, but I don't want to wait more time when our kids are getting ready to start the season. And not to say that we should put this above other priorities, because of course we have to get the school started and get the ball rolling on that too. But sports plays a big part of education. Okay, in the United States, it does play a big part of education. Okay, so I'm sorry, but I want this done. And I need it done, because if we want to compete against the Valley, okay, and we talk about moving forward, well, how are we moving forward if we are not providing our kids with the stuff they need to at least to play sports?
And well, you know what, and Mr. Calderon and the board members, this is in no way a roadblock. I would love to see 0 period for all sports, for all students. So the wish of the board is, you have already how much it would cost for the 1/6 of the salary, the $22,000 that Mr. Heck says that what it would cost for equipment. We can do that, and I can always bring back the other coaches and or the other sports. We would love to see conditioning classes for all students.
Well, then, I would just, at this point, I recommend that it all be brought back, all 4 that are being proposed here, with the fiscal impact
Details,
each one would, all the details that we've all asked for, and the information that's been presented by the coach. And I want to add that I don't know, I don't want to misparaphrase what's been said here of the other coaches not being here. I don't think that shows any lack of their own dedication. I think we need to support all of our sports. They don't have to be in this meeting, at least on my end, to know that they are dedicated people. Again, I have children that are in these sports programs, and I know as a parent the dedication it takes as a parent to get our kids there. more than anything, the trust that it takes for us to drop them off in these school sites and receive the physical conditioning and everything else that comes with being in a sport. So what I'd like to see is all four, the four coaches that expressed an interest to provide a report like Mr. Heck did when he's done here, and if he's turned in anything else, a full program, what it would look like, how it would be staffed on an administrative level in terms of safety and personnel being here, and if you're going to pull some administrators to be here half an hour earlier and they're going to leave half an hour earlier in the evening, I mean, how is that going to impact the afternoon
Coverage.
Right. So
Or it could be
what
on
is that
the
going to look like as well, so that we're covered on our end? That's what I would like to see. And
Does it mean that we may need to, rotate extra hours for campus security?
so
We
what it
can
would all
include
look
all
like,
those
and
details
a
in the
time
cost.
frame for this to be brought back, because I think school starts next week, and I assume this is all this stuff all gets started right away.
On my behalf, what I would ask, because yes, there would be an impact on equipment that's needed, but our budget at the high school, really, it doesn't permit for us to turn around and say, okay, here's $20,000 from our general fund. This is where I would ask for your support in reference to allocating more monies into our athletic program, because it's really for the athletic programs. We're talking 4 sports right now.
Exactly. So if we know what that is, we can look at our budget and allocate
Perfect,
accordingly,
okay.
so that we don't,
So
we
that
don't
it
know
doesn't
what it is
just,
at this
what
point.
you're asking is that if it's going to be funded, you don't want it to be done at the cost to other programs.
Yes.
Correct.
Or it could be instructional, it could be.
So you're talking about, go ahead and allocate it, but don't take it from my total athletic fund and you're wiping me
We don't have enough
out.
money for athletics to
Right.
be able to, yeah.
You see what I mean? Please.
Well, we just not approved our CSBA membership. That's $13,000 right there. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So bring it back with those, do you have any additional stipulations, board members? At this time, if you forget or remember, or just make it a point to bring it up and,
That we keep in mind that this being an elective, that at some point, and soon, we start looking at how to include
Definitely.
kids that aren't
Yes.
in a particular sport, so that they can receive, I think Mr. Heck said, in his original plan was for it to be open to all, but the way it's being proposed now, it's only for the athletes, and that's great, but
let's find
at some
something.
point, we
And the plan-
that needs to be brought
And the plan
forward
is
as
to
well.
include, if Mr. Hick was saying, we have 400 signatures. I would ask,
A cap.
how do we provide a program for 400 kids in 0 period? He can't handle it by himself.
Right.
So now we're going to entail more personnel. He's not going to be just in the gym and in the weight room, so I'm sure he's going to have a variety of different activities going on during that 0 period. And I think that's part of the plan that I would want to see also.
Exactly, and I'll tell you, if we do it right, and it's going to take a little longer, the benefit for our kids, the health benefits, all the things that we've talked about, at least in my term here, health benefits and their well-being, and all, you can't beat that, and it'll start to show.
Okay, so
Yep.
Yes, there's one thing
can you come to the podium, please? Sorry.
that we got into with regard to this that was a concern is assets can pay conditioning coaches, because the assets program is set up as a complete health, academic health and athletic wellness, okay? If you kind of look at it on an equal playing field of both of those two. So how I qualified and how I created the plan initially was there was a certain amount of time that they would do study hall, but they would also do conditioning. That has always been part of my plan. It was something I wanted to do, and assets just happened to be coming into view at that same time, and we linked with that. The problem that we may incur now is if it becomes a class, it's now within the school time frame. 5:30 now is part of the school time frame. assets can only fund outside of the school time frame. So there'd have to be some way that
Tie-in.
there's like set aside time so that the
Equipment is used after school hours.
well, it would have to be used for after-school hours, and that's really not that big of a problem. I don't think that's going to be any issue, because basketball will probably use it, and maybe even volleyball, because they did during the summertime. But more specifically, if I'm going to have this population group, and that population group may be somewhere in the neighborhood of 80 kids in the morning, and we are doing different activities, one anaerobic here, that's the weight room, aerobic over here, flexibility over there. I can't physically oversee all those adequately. I have to have assistants to help me. That's how we functioned. That's how it's been safe, right? But if I get it as a 0 period, now those individuals would have to do what I've done all along, that's do it for free. It's kind of hard to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 days a week, for free. So that provides kind of another caveat in this whole thing. And this is why my background is in community and regional planning, okay? So I think in these categorical terms in this whole system analysis. And we're now, even though this is taking kind of an odd turn, now we're really thinking. In my view, we're really thinking now, because now we're looking at this, how can we serve these different populations? The enormity of the scale that we're talking about, the variety of the scale, and the categorical funding for this, the duration of it, and then paying the individual financial layout for those teachers. It's complicated, right? So, but now the right questions are coming forth, and I really appreciate a lot of the questions you had, because I have kind of in my heart about that, I'm more interested in a kid developing what he or she needs now for what is a life experience and a life obstacle down the road than I am about winning a game. That doesn't mean I don't want to win. That's the least of it, and anybody knows me, I'm vicious that way. But the long-term benefits are so enormous here. And what has happened, the culture of our school has kind of been inverted, I think. We don't see athletics and academics as being like this. We see them as being separate. If you look at ASB and you look at athletics as being the heart and soul of the school, then you can wrap everything else around it because it's sticky. Everybody wants to go to it. But if you don't have anything in the middle, then it doesn't really implode. It just kind of sags and explodes out, and you don't have a heart. That's why I think this is so important. That's why I do agree with you that we need to have something for kids that don't have an outlet for athletics. I agree.
Okay.
That's why I proposed this in the first. And it also opened the questions, what do you do with 400 kids that say yes to it?
Yeah.
Do they really mean yes? Does a kid really mean I want to get up at 5, be there at 5:30 in the morning, or not? You find that out when it becomes a class and they have an attendance and it affects their grade. They get a pass, no pass, and then if they don't show up saying I do want to do it, but I really don't want to do it, and then a truant officer comes to the door of the parent and says, here's a $500 fine because your student doesn't come to school on time.
Okay.
That's the level I'm thinking at this.
Well, you've heard from the board, Mrs. Armendariz. Go ahead.
Yes, and you know, right now listening to Mr. Heck, now I know where the turn happened, because we're talking about before school or after school programs through assets. That is totally different than having a 0 period on the master calendar. So with an before school and after school through assets, it's very different than a 0 period where all these students are going to be on a master calendar.
So well, you know what?
That's why,
Just
because.
keep
okay.
in mind, I'm just like, I don't understand where the ball got dropped, but now that it's clear, can we have this brought back?
As a zero period or a class that's, a conditioning class
That's
through
before.
assets before school, which is different than zero period because all those students need to be on the master calendar.
Whatever will get us through. And
Okay,
that
two
means
proposals. Okay.
I see Mr. Cooper shaking his head. Why are you shaking your head, Mr. Cooper?
2 proposals, and one for
Yeah.
assets and one for zero period Calexico High School master calendar, or master schedule, that's what it is.
Now it's a quartet. I need Alan and, Sergio up here. No, I want to remind the board that you can't negotiate directly with employees. And I'm kind of sort of seeing that in a big way, that you have to promise me 2 hours after school in exchange for this. I represent teachers, and when I met with Maria and Hortensia, I talked about 7 to 8 a.m. What are teachers doing? That's where ACT is involved.
Okay.
And I really think you got to hire these people and tell them from day one they're coming to work, and then the equipment can come in later. And equipment is equipment. How it gets funded shouldn't really be frontline employees' concerns.
It's a safety issue, and that it is totally on my back.
But how it's funded shouldn't be your concern. They should provide you with the right equipment. And there's people like Mai, who I guess is out on a break or something, that's her job to try to figure out what category you pull the money from. But me as a teacher, I need books, history teacher. Where I buy them, it's unfair to make the PE teachers run around feeling like third world participants in a first world economy or something like that. So let's do it as a pilot, and then we can meet and refine for future. But I don't really know what to say.
All right. No, well, I wanted to give you an opportunity to speak because I saw you shaking your head and I thought there was something.
I just don't want you negotiating directly with employees.
Okay.
And when you say, well, Mr. Heck had this proposal, that's great that he's here as an audience member, but it shouldn't be that every zero period teacher has to come and do an audition for the school board. And I can see
think it
your
was an
passion, but no, I see it going that way. When you want to hear the other 3 teachers, what demands they're going to have and what they're going to give and what they're going to get, then I might as well send every teacher here to negotiate directly with the school board.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
What's the wish of the board?
There was no negotiating with anybody. We
No,
just
there
wanted
wasn't.
information.
We want information. Board members, what do you want to do? Do you want to move forward and approve this and then have the second part or another part brought to us by Ms. Armendariz, or what do you want to do?
Mr. Bell?
Bring it back.
I would like like I stated before, I don't want to wait any more time on this. So I would like to approve, I would like for this to get approved, and then for Ms. Hortensia to.
What are we approving, the $51,000?
Yes, and then for the, like it says, for the 4 teachers.
I understand that. We saw a draft of somebody passing that down. It has names, we know, but it's not on the agenda as such. It's just for us to pay $51,000 for 2 semesters.
It's not in the class and certificate report.
Exactly. It's not a full agendized item. It's like giving public funds away.
Are you gonna move on your motion, or are you withdrawing it, so we can just move on?
Well, no, I don't think I've made a
No,
motion.
he just said he didn't make a motion. Is there a
Okay.
motion?
Make a motion to table and bring back the correct information,
I'll-
or the requested information.
Motion is to table the item.
I will second and comment.
Motion by Duarte, seconded by Calderon. Comments?
If we have and we're gonna have a special board meeting next week for the other items. So do you think you could have that ready by next week?
Tuesday.
Tuesday?
Is that-
Tuesday? Are we shooting for that? I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know when,
I
if
don't
we, because we're planning for a special board meeting next week, so. For the items that we tabled the,
We tabled, we didn't schedule a special board meeting for anything.
but I thought we were saying, I thought we said we were gonna have a special board meeting. That's why.
What have we tabled? Huh?
Yes,
Oh, the SROs.
yes.
We didn't call for a special board meeting, it's just being a regular meeting. Did we set a special board meeting?
No, we said we
Move
might-
on.
I cautioned the board that we might need a special board meeting. I did do that.
So that's why if it's Tuesday, there's no way that it will be done by Tuesday.
That's right.
What? Why not? Why not?
I would, because you want to know what equipment, what is out there. I need a survey, what is,
Well, if we bring each item back as a separate item, we could actually get at the very least, this proposal
okay.
approved, because you
I could
have
do
his
that.
information.
You have that information already, that
Okay.
package that
Exactly.
was provided
so
by,
what I'll do is I will submit it as a conditioning football, conditioning basketball, conditioning softball, conditioning cheer. Okay.
and that it's not coming from the athletic full department budget, correct, Mr. Pesquero?
Yes. Yes.
I would say would have to. We are supporting the athletic teams with this conditioning program.
Okay. Well, then, but you did make it a point to say that you would ask that we consider, or administration, or whatever level it is, it has to be done, that if we're going to tap into there should be,
I think you said just isn't enough, there aren't enough funds in there
right.
to cover.
And the other clarity I want with the coach, because he did mention starting at 5:30 in the morning. If we're talking a zero period, it starts at 7.
That's
Now,
right.
if we're gonna have, he mentioned 80, but at first he was saying open it up, and he had 400 kids. Then who's gonna be out there assisting and supervision? We don't have
Right.
doctors, we don't have administrators
Right.
at 5:30
Well,
in the
the
morning.
way this is set up right now is just, it's only for.
7 to 8.
But it's only for the kids that are in football, in softball, in basketball, and
Okay.
cheer. So that there's a list of 400 other kids interested
Okay.
is just, I think, something for this district to look at as well.
Exactly. What are the
So
alternatives?
how do we accommodate all those? But the way this, right now, to move this forward is for the kids
football
in the
club.
sports right now.
Okay.
And how do we get that started?
If I may make a comment, I was just reading at this item. It says 0 period for Calexico High School. So the recommendation is only to approve the 0 period, which comes at,
Yeah, but all of
Yeah.
this other conversation came about because it wasn't on there, so, if you remember.
so can we approve the 0 period? And then next week or the next board meeting, bring the names for approval and the equipment for approval? But
What would be the point if you can't get anything started, if you don't have a complete project here? Approve, we need to approve for what?
Mr. Heckler has one question then.
Mr. Heck? Short,
Very short.
okay.
That's the question. The school starts, we have to make a decision, we have to act at some point. My point on this whole thing was, it's complicated, isn't it? The second part is, it's at our doorstep. Kids need to be served. What is our plan? I proposed a plan, okay. Maybe it had its glitches or whatnot, is maybe you see it or you don't see it. I don't see as that many glitches, but the thing about it is we have to make some very straight line decisions on what we're going to do here, because if we keep tabling to talk, that's what happened from Easter to now.
Yeah.
And we can keep talking about this till I retire. You know what I mean?
Coach, can you come, I know that you said that there might be some safety concerns. Can you, I guess, I don't want to use the word guarantee, but can you come up with an alternate routine until all of this gets hashed out, that you would be able to have alternate type of conditioning that doesn't require the weights until
No. I've altered it by lowering the population, by having us at different, if you want to call it, different pods or different stations. That's reduced the danger factor. It's given us each individual
No, I'm
more
just
space.
talking temporarily until something can.
Season is on right now. I will
No,
not pull us out of the weight room.
allow me to finish. I'm not saying, what I'm saying, till we work out the equipment part, to get it, processed as soon as possible. Having, going forward with this group of people. Can you come up with something that they can be doing? Because you mentioned that there are safety concerns in terms of the equipment.
There's been that since 2007 when I was coaching.
Right. So
It-
I
it
know,
was
that's what I'm
never
saying. If you're
addressed.
saying it's not safe to use it. So if the equipment is not safe to use, what will you have them do if we don't have the equipment there?
The equipment is, okay, I'm not trying to be deliberately difficult, but what I'm saying is since 2007, the equipment has been inadequate. We have pieces of
I
equipment that have been in
understand,
there
but
that haven't
like you
been
said,
fixed
but
since then.
we're at it next week, right?
Right,
I doubt if we're going to be able to get the equipment by next week.
right.
Is there an alternate,
We'll
something,
We will continue to work in the small stations. so we
okay, that's what
minimize the
that's what I'm
danger.
getting at now.
But that's with almost a guarantee that we aren't gonna let this just fade into the darkness. 'Cause that's
Nobody's
oftentimes-
saying that. We're just.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying I don't want it to happen because I've seen it happen and I don't want it to happen in this case.
And having said that, that's why, thank you. And that's why I was clarifying, because for me, I think I could get behind something moving forward on approving tonight if we can make sure that we are not putting our students in danger and while still providing some type of conditioning, maybe not the optimal one that you want, but move forward. And that's all I wanted to say. So, having said that, is there's a motion to approve?
To table.
To table, I'm sorry. Okay. Is there any further comments by the board? Okay, all those in favor to table, please signify by saying aye.
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 No. Motion passes to table 3-2. Okay, moving on to board members' closing comments. Mr. Ortega?
None at this time.
Mr. Calderon?
None.
Ms. Duarte?
I would like to ask, is it because of the new system we are not notified that the agenda is up? Are we supposed to go into the agenda on our own? Or the last time I got a notice that the agenda was ready for review was back in July.
You should have received, I emailed everybody, school board.
I didn't get
No?
it.
I will double check with our technology. I know they're having a little bit of trouble with the transitioning of emails, but I did forward it to, no?
Yeah, no. I didn't get the last board meeting nor this board meeting,
No.
because I was looking for it.
I will look into that.
Okay. And again, I can't see my comments here, but I know I had another comment. And it was an important one, too. It was in regards to your report. In regards to the trailers at Willy Moreno that we were cited by the city. They've been sitting down there for a while already, and all of a sudden, we get cited by the city. In regards to,
We had a fire there. They might have gone on there and found something that we didn't know existed there.
well, I also know that there was somebody going and taking out the copper wires and the air conditioners
Yeah,
from those
they
trailers.
also noted that.
Yeah. But I think I had been talking about that as to making it a career and demolishing them ourselves and just throwing them in the trash. What is the steps on that? Because now we have to pay for, what is it? Asbestos?
The steps to remove it is to get the trailer checked out for the asbestos to see if there's any hazardous material waste in there at all, and once that comes back clean, or not, if it comes back clean, then we can either demolish them ourselves or declare them as surplus and give them away or get rid of them, etc.
Well, I mean, they're all broken. Nobody's going to want them. I mean, we're going to have to demolish them, but I think that should have been demolished a long time ago because they are ugly aesthetics there for Willie Moreno.
And I understand, but in order for us to demolish them, we have to prove that there's no asbestos or any other hazardous materials.
Well, even if there was, they've been rained on, they've been broken, they've been walked in. So the asbestos, if there is, it's already flying. And now we're going to have to pay for them to, I mean, that's going to be a hefty. Plus, what about the fine of the city? Are they fining us or is it a warning?
At this point, I believe it's a warning, but we need to comply within a certain time frame, so that's what we're doing right now.
That's so, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Luna Vizcarra?
Just one short comment. I received a call from a parent with a recommendation following the unfortunate drowning of one of our students over the summer, asking if there's any way for the district to post the, what is it, the Dippy Duck, the IID, I think there's a video, to post it on the district website and just to make it accessible for parents, so that in addition to the training that or the presentation that the kids go through here at school every year, that we also make that available on our website and on whatever other social media sites we have, and let parents know that they can watch that video from home and continue have that ongoing conversation with our students, because that was such an unfortunate event that happened, and I think the more we can inform our parents and on our end do something like that, that'd be great.
Thank you. Piggybacking on Ms. Luna Vizcarra's comments, I did work with IID department with having their presentation done in the kindergarten tour that organized with part of San Diego State, and I would say that we make it a point to ask IID representatives to come and do a presentation for like an assembly on water safety for each of our school sites. They have the program presentation that they have is tailored towards elementary, and I would ask them to, if they would please develop something that would, be adequate for middle and high school level. And I have no further comments. So we will now go into closed session. Mr. Weiler will. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, forgive me.
Call her up.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know.
Diane Harvey.
Diana Harvey, ACT. When you approved the consultant position for the band, I wasn't clear, and I'm sure Mrs. Washington has it under control, but I'd just like to be clear. He is not going to be the teacher of record, because we do have RIF teachers still on our RIF roles that need to be called to be that position until you find someone, and any other position that's still vacant. And I know you're still enrolling kids at Deanza. One of our teachers went over today, and she was number 118 to get into to see to the counselors to get her classes. So you're still enrolling kids. You don't know what your vacancies are. We still do have those teachers that have been RIF that need to be called back. Okay, that's all I want to say.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, thank you.
We will have a sub in that classroom until we either
assist, and then Mr. Lee will assist.
He's just an assistant and
just standing there.
Assuming we don't get a sub with music credentials.
Okay.
The board will now go into closed session to discuss the items listed in Part K of the agenda, and then reconvene in open session to announce any action taken, and probably go over the rest of the agenda in open session.
Thank you.